is just a screenshot that I have taken from the draft policy. It should be have, okay, that in elementary school have not attained foundational literacy and numeracy. There is an acceptance, and please focus on the first sentence itself. We are in a severe learning crisis. They've never ever mentioned in any of the books that any of the pages in the policy that we are in a teaching crisis. That's good news. I mean, there is nothing more that can be done from the teaching side. But at the same time, they've accepted that there's a lot to be done from the learner side, because it's a learning crisis. If action is not taken soon, over the next few years, the country could lose 10 crore or more students from the learning systems and to illiteracy. It's a major thing. 10 crore is almost close to around 8 to 9% of India's population. And this is the future of a country. They have accepted it and documented it. So are they doing anything? Yes, so let's look at one more. Attaining foundational literacy and numeracy for all children must become an immediate national mission. This is going to be implemented as a national mission, as a national, of course it's a national policy, but it is taken at a war footing. Now, for example, national mission example is the polio drops, Do Boond Zindagi Ke. That's a national mission to eradicate polio from India. Then DOTS, the TB, eradicating TB from India. Now these are a few things that the government is already working now. This is one more thing they are talking about when they say it is about learning, it is about literacy, it is about knowing what the children should know and the basics of skills, competencies and character building. So having said this, of course vision I'm sure you would know. So it's mainly education system that contributes directly to transforming our national sustainably, because we are part of the Sustainable Development Goals of UN, SDGs, which talks about a lot of things. There are 18, 19 parameters, education being one of the top priorities, into an equitable and vibrant knowledge society. We are no longer talking about educated society. We are talking about a knowledge society by providing high quality education to all. Now, the vision is very clear. It's for us to understand this or even misunderstand. So when we talk about high quality these days, it's like when I have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. It's all about technology, technology, technology. No. I think we as educators need to take a step back and say that technology, yes, technology is not always high quality. It is only high cost. And there is no study in India or even abroad which can claim that technology intervention at an early age has actually helped in improving the learning outcomes. There is nothing to validate that. Of course, you would have hundreds of apps which is invariably available to the parents free of cost, some pay, but that is probably more of a distraction than of bringing back the focus on learning. And then, because of all the exposure, the diversion and the intervention that is happening outside of the school, the burden on the teachers and the school is increasing day by day. How many of you agree with this statement? Because of what is happening outside of the school, the burden on the teachers is enormously increasing. Why? Because the parents have conveniently outsourced everything to the school and the teachers, and they don't get involved in the learning that needs to happen outside of the school for their own words. And to top it all, nobody is to tell them. You can't forget about hitting or beating or punishing a child. You can't even scold a child these days. I have heard gory stories of complaints going and whatnot. We'll not get into the details. Have we thrown out the window the saying by which we were all exactly, that is what I was saying. Spare the rod and spoil the child. What is happening? Are we actually preparing them for the future? The answer is very clear. For all of us, with all these restrictions, is there something that we all can do together? Yes. The only thing that we all can do together is to involve the learner in the process and not just leave them out and take all the burden on the education institutions and especially the teachers. Students all of a sudden, because of the exposure to technology that they have been given by the parent, because parent wants some free time for themselves, or they also want to be sitting on a gadget rather than looking at what the child is doing. A gadget is handed over and the student thinks he or she knows more than what the teacher knows. This has happened over the last decade and a half. But is there a way to circumvent all of this? Yes. By actually going into the details as to what the draft has told is focus on the learning, not on the teaching. So what we call it as a flipped classroom. These are some experiments that have been done successfully outside of India. There are a lot of models that can be looked at. But the most important thing is to enable the learner to learn on their own. You give a lot of homework, many of them complete, few don't complete. Homework is kind of a revision. You do weekly, fortnightly, or monthly, or quarterly examinations. Examinations are looked at as a yardstick for scoring marks only. Is there any learning that is happening because I am having 2 examinations every month? Probably yes, probably no, I don't know. Are marks an indicator of the learning of the child? Probably no. Probably at an early age, every child's memory is good. So the more I can recollect, the more I can remember, the more marks I get. That is moving towards a lot of rote learning. Memorizing, yes, it is needed. But memorizing and remembering and recalling is lower order thinking skills. And what we need to get the students moved up is to higher order thinking skills in terms of how will they apply what they remember, how will they apply what they understand, how will they analyze what they know from mathematics, science, English, or even Indian language. There is always a correlation. And later on going on to how will I create something new, innovation. Innovation starts from our day-to-day life. Even crossing road in India is an innovation. We become very creative while crossing roads. Yes, so creativity and innovation is inborn. Nobody needs to teach us. But then we need to enable that environment. We need to enable and enrich the student in this case. So that is exactly what I want to just emphasize on. Okay, let me not get into all these details. Okay, so when we speak about getting into the implementation of new education policy, there have been some structural changes that they are going to bring in. They're going to have a regulatory body which will look at what is happening in the preschools, because they've already said that within the first few weeks, within the first few weeks of the child coming into grade 1, they already are falling back because they have not gone through early childhood care and education, because that was not governed by any of the bodies, either it's NCERT or even MHRD. That was a free industry where I have a room like this, I have a playgroup, nursery kind of thing which I can start. So that's getting regulated. So one solace for the teachers who are in first grade, that probably the students after 2-3 years would be coming in with some basic foundational literacy and numeracy. So your burden would reduce a little bit. All of this to be achieved by 2025. So we all have 5 years for doing all this. So if you look at this, what they are talking about is in terms of building up child's innate ability and all important life skills of cooperation, teamwork, social curiosity, creativity, and all of this. So this is how we are making them as global citizens. Okay. Now, okay, this we already spoke about. So, what I say in general on reading, writing, and speaking of languages, and on mathematical ideas and thinking. So, if you see, there are a lot of instances wherein the word thinking is emphasized on. So, once I know how to think, I am enabled. Once I give some information, then that enrichment happens. Now that I know how to think and I have some information, which is through the curriculum, I am empowered because I know to think and I know what to think and how to think. That is exactly the role of the teacher. Sounds very interesting, isn't it? But then for getting this implemented, it's not going to be easy because age-old way of executing a classroom, executing an assessment, or even conducting an assessment has been completely different. So all that is going to change, which means to say that there is a lot of burden that is getting reduced from the teachers. But there is a lot of new things that would get introduced. So if you look at all of this, it is mainly moving away from the lower order thinking skills to higher order thinking skills. So in crux, the whole of the draft policy is about talking about a mixture of identifying what the future skills that are needed, which is 21st century skills and beyond, Bloom's taxonomy, and bringing in the learner at the center rather than the school and the teacher at the center. So, we will start this. I would encourage some questions. And after this, we will also say what Acumen today is into, which is mainly in alignment with what this national education policy is all about, wherein we would want to enable and empower the learner outside of the school and in a completely non-digital manner. We don't want to get them exposed to the digital media early in life. They would invariably, even if we don't want them to, they are already. Even if we don't want them to get in there, they would invariably get in there. But from our side, we have ensured that we would not do anything digital for the time being. So what would that be? That would be through a physical means. Physical means is very important for children up to probably even high school because they need to be exposed to a lot of real things rather than virtual things. A thing on a device is completely virtual. Now my thinking, the concept of virtual, something that is virtual itself is something difficult to digest. And if that is the thing, the exposure to children, there would be a lot of psychological issues going forward. This research has already started in India, thankfully. And the outcomes, even if they are for a small segment of students, the outcomes are really, really scary. Slowly, probably there would be an understanding from the parents' side. But then at least from the educator side, we all know that it is not actually helping the children to learn in their own way. So our intent is to make them learn. So our focus is completely on learning. And this is a 2-year-old company. So this is coming much before the draft policy will even started the discussions. So our only intention is to reduce the burden of the stakeholders in the learning process. First and foremost important stakeholder is the teacher. Second is the school. Third is the parent. And fourth, the most important, is the student himself or herself. So what we have done, they will have the presentation at a later point in time once Madam gives us the time. Today was a time when we wanted to just highlight on this and also let you know that what we are doing is completely in alignment with the national education policy which would be implemented from next year, which is mainly to inculcate these habits of reading, correlating, understanding, conceptualizing and thinking from an early age. So our focus is from pre-primary to 10th. And as I mentioned, we are doing completely in a non-digital manner. This is through books. So the medium of delivery is books, nothing digital. Now these books are not textbooks. These books are not guides. These books are not practice books. These books are not worksheet books. These are learning books for enabling the student to learn, to think, to apply, to analyze on their own. And once we achieve that objective, it becomes very simple for getting all of this achieved. It becomes that much simple for implementing and executing the guidelines and the frameworks that would be defined, which is already defined, which would be asked by the institutions to execute. And it would also help in improving not just the grades, but the learning outcomes in terms of the knowledge and the wisdom. So in short, this is what we are. Ramesh sir, if you can just have the leaflet given. We've done small interventions of creating 10 learning books for every grade. Because learning happens in a step-by-step manner. It doesn't happen all of a sudden. Of course, there would be spurts, but there would be troughs also, wherein I'm not doing anything, I'm not learning anything, but still my mind is working. So to enable all of this, what we have done is created 10 small books of 60 pages each. These are not of the size of the textbooks. So small books giving the perception that these are small books are easy to handle, easy to go through. And we have incorporated the conceptual learning, because that's exactly what the focus is. Moving away from rote learning and focusing on the conceptual learning and critical thinking aspects, we have focused on the concepts that are being covered in the syllabus, which means to say that you are teaching the students and your pupils exactly what is there as per the syllabus, and we have taken the concepts, not chapter wise, but the concepts of science, math and English as a language into every book. No separate books, because we spoke about interdisciplinary. Students need to understand that everything is correlated. I cannot understand science without actually knowing English as a language. I cannot apply physics unless and until I don't know the basics of mathematics. And then, okay, I don't want science and maths, I want to focus only on arts. Yes, to be creative you need a lot of art. And to be really creative, there is a lot of creativity that you can exhibit in science also. So keeping all of this in mind, we have done these small interventions, and these have been implemented in a few schools last year. We also have a case study created out of this, which we can share it at a later point in time. The outcomes have been really, really encouraging. So when I said burden on the 4 stakeholders, we have made the learning as simple as possible through these small interventions. So we have taken care of the learner. We have taken care of the school, because these are not textbooks, these are not activity books that needs to be done in the school. We have taken care of the children. Children I said. There is nothing for the teachers to do in this, because this is a self-learning book. And there is hardly anything for the parents, because we have taken care of the affordability aspect as well. Most important, I would go out and spend on a family dinner in eating a pizza joint, wherein my bill for 3 or 4 of the family members would be a 4-digit bill. Now our costing is probably half of that. for the entire year, for the entire 10 books. We would go into commercials at a later point, but that's not the point here. The intent is that we don't want to burden the process of learning. Learning needs to happen at its own pace. Learning needs to happen in my way, not in anybody else's way, because I'm a learner here. Learning needs to happen in my learning environment, which is the school, the classroom, as well as my home. So when we do this, it's like we are partnering with the students. They are part of the teaching learning process. So the other thing what we have done is we have not put the table of content in any of our books. We don't want the students to be selective learners. Many of them have a perception that mathematics is difficult. I'm just taking an example. For many, English is difficult. Whereas we know that it is not difficult. It's only a perception, it's only a glass ceiling that they have created for themselves. So when I say selective learning, it is that we have intentionally not given table of content because we don't want them to skip the pages. We want them to at least go through each of the page. Not even read. Even if they go through at their leisure, there is some learning and reinforcement that would be happening. When they learn for the exam, it is revision. When they study for the examination, it is the fear